All right, buckle up, because this one doesn't read like a sports story. It reads like a corporate thriller dressed in football pads. We've seen player versus coach drama. We've seen owner meddling. We've even seen locker rooms divided over quarterback controversies. But now we've got Nike versus the Cleveland Browns. And if that sounds absurd, that's because it is. But it's also very, very real. Here's the headline. Nike, yes, the swoosh, the megacorporation, the empire built on Michael Jordan sneakers and Serena Williams commercials, is allegedly leaning on the Browns to make Shedeur Sanders their starting quarterback immediately. Not tomorrow, not after development, not after earning it. Immediately. Let that sink in for a second. We're not talking about a coaching staff decision. We're not talking about a GM's draft board. We're talking about a shoe company calling plays from the boardroom. If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed. And at the heart of this tug-of-war is Shedeur Sanders. Young, talented, polished, and already the face of a billion-dollar marketing machine. Now, let's zoom in on the chaos this creates, because the ripple effects are everywhere. Inside the Browns facility, you've got head coach Kevin Stefanski trying to hold the line. Stefanski's entire coaching philosophy is about structure, about meritocracy. He doesn't care about commercials. He cares about reps. He doesn't care about jersey sales. He cares about completions in practice. To him, the idea of throwing a rookie into QB1, because a sponsor said so, is the antithesis of football. It's selling out the sport's integrity. But then you've got Nike dangling numbers that make owners' eyes glaze over. We're talking about projections in the hundreds of millions. $400 million tied to Shedeur Sanders' visibility. Jersey sales, sneaker lines, streaming rights, international markets. To Nike, Shedeur isn't just a quarterback. He's a walking revenue pipeline. And pipelines don't pay off when they're sitting on the bench. So who's caught in the middle? The Browns players. The locker room. Imagine being a veteran, grinding through training camp, only to feel like your team's direction is being dictated not by football logic, but by a boardroom PowerPoint presentation. Some players are looking at Shedeur like, hey, kid's talented, but he's got to earn it. Others, they're thinking, man, if Nike's making the calls, what does that mean for the rest of us? Do I need a sneaker deal to get snaps? It's destabilizing. It fractures trust. And trust is oxygen in a locker room. Without it, everything suffocates. Meanwhile, Shedeur himself is staying quiet, professional, focused. And that's the irony of this whole mess. The kid isn't the one stirring the pot. He's not the one demanding a starting job. Not the one lobbying for spotlight. He's putting in the work, throwing the passes, leading drills. If anything, his calm demeanor only highlights how wild the world around him has become. But Nike doesn't care about calm. Nike cares about now. Their argument is simple. Football is entertainment, and entertainment runs on stars. And right now, Shedeur is a star. Why bury him? Why wait? From a purely business perspective, their case makes sense. But from a football perspective, it's a nightmare. Think about the precedent here. If Nike can influence Cleveland to start Shedeur, what stops another sponsor from demanding their guy plays in another city? Suddenly, you're not building rosters based on talent. You're building them based on corporate partnerships. And once that line is crossed, where does it end? Does a Gatorade-sponsored linebacker get priority over a body armor-sponsored one? Do you start scripting play calls to highlight the star from your official beverage partner? It sounds ridiculous, but this is where unchecked influence leads. Now, let's pan out and look at the fans. Because fans smell this stuff instantly. And let's be real. Cleveland fans are some of the most loyal, long-suffering fans in all of sports. They've lived through quarterback after quarterback, disappointment after disappointment. And now, just when they thought they might have a shot at stability, they hear that corporate influence might be calling the shots. That burns. Fans want to believe that wins come from grit, not marketing campaigns. That success is earned on the field, not in the boardroom. The media, of course, is eating this alive. Sports talk shows are blasting hot takes. Does Nike own the Browns? Is the NFL for sale? Pundits debate whether this is a one-off scandal or the start of a terrifying new trend. Twitter, or whatever we're calling it now, is flooded with memes of Nike executives in headsets, dialing up plays from the luxury box. And then there's the NFL itself. Because if you think league officials are just sitting quietly, you're wrong. This is their nightmare scenario. The NFL thrives on the illusion of purity, that games are decided by competition, not by commercial interference. Sure, we all know money is everywhere, but the sanctity of the game is a shield that keeps fans invested. If fans start to believe that corporate deals dictate who plays, trust collapses. And when trust collapses, so does the product. That's why whispers are already coming out of league meetings. Talk of potential regulations, policy shifts. Imagine rules that explicitly forbid sponsors from influencing depth charts or contract clauses. Imagine guardrails designed to keep Nike, Adidas, or any other corporate giant at arm's length from actual team decisions. The league knows it needs to get ahead of this before the precedent is set. But Cleveland? They're stuck in the present storm. Stefanski's digging in. Ownership is torn. Nike is pressing harder. And the players are left wondering what this all means for their season. And here's the cruelest twist of all. Shedeur Sanders himself might become the face of a controversy he never asked for. A rookie who just wants to prove himself, now caught in the crosshairs of billion-dollar agendas. If he gets the QB1 job, people will whisper that he didn't earn it. If he doesn't, people will say Nike lost a battle. Either way, the kid's legacy is being shaped by forces beyond his control. It's almost poetic in a tragic way. Now, let's hand out some fake awards, because this circus deserves them. First, the Corporate Play Caller of the Year award goes to Nike for allegedly trying to run a quarterback sneak from the boardroom. Second, the Integrity on Life Support medal goes to the Browns for letting themselves even get into this mess. And finally, the Keep Calm and Ball on trophy goes to Shedeur Sanders for staying poised while the entire world debates his future. So what's the moral here? It's this. Football has always been business, but business can't replace football. Once you let sponsors dictate who plays, the whole house of cards starts to wobble. The Browns are the test case, but the implications reach every corner of the league. Will the NFL step in and draw the line? Will Stefanski hold his ground and keep his authority intact? Or will Nike's billions bend reality to their will, making Sanders QB1 whether Cleveland's ready or not? Because at the end of the day, this isn't just a battle for one rookie's job. This is a battle for the soul of the sport. Who controls the game, the coaches and players, or the corporations that bankroll them? And right now, all eyes are on Cleveland. All right, let's keep this train rolling. Because if you thought Nike whispering in Cleveland's ear was bad, wait until you see what happens when the locker room starts catching wind of it. You think a defensive lineman who's been grinding through a decade of two-a-days is going to smile and nod when he hears a sneaker company might be deciding who lines up under center? Please, this is a part of the story where the human element collides with the corporate circus, and spoiler alert, it's messy. So picture this. The Browns finish another long, grueling practice. Sweat-soaked pads, tempers already short. Everyone's just trying to get through training camp alive. And then, boom, the whisper starts spreading. Yo, Nike's trying to push Shedeur into QB1. For real. At first, it's disbelief. Then it's laughter. Then it's rage. Veteran players, guys who clawed their way into this league, who know exactly how fragile an NFL career is, feel insulted. To them, this isn't just about Shedeur. It's about respect. It's about the idea that their blood, sweat, and sacrifice can be tossed aside because some marketing exec in Oregon wants to sell a few million jerseys. Imagine being a linebacker busting your back every practice, only to realize the quarterback decision might not come from the film room, but from a quarterly earnings report. That's not just discouraging. That's demoralizing. And you can feel the tension thickening. Veterans start side-eyeing Sanders in the cafeteria. Not because they don't think he's talented. Most of them know he's talented, but because they wonder if he's in on it. If the kid's smiling in practice because he knows he's got the swoosh behind him, that suspicion poisons chemistry. Suddenly, huddles feel colder, conversations shorter, The locker room less like a brotherhood and more like a corporate office with cliques forming in the corners. Meanwhile, the younger guys, oh, they're conflicted. On one hand, they admire Shedeur. He's confident, polished, the kind of player they follow into battle. On the other hand, they don't want to get caught looking like Nike loyalists in front of veterans who already think the system is being rigged. So they keep their heads down, torn between two realities, the old school code of meritocracy and the new school reality of branding. And then there's Shedeur himself. Imagine his position. He's working his tail off, delivering clean throws, putting in extra reps after practice, doing everything a rookie should do. But no matter what he does, people will say his opportunity came from corporate meddling. If he succeeds, skeptics will say it was handed to him. If he fails, they'll say he wasn't ready and Nike ruined him. That's the curse of being at the center of this storm. He can't win the narrative, no matter how well he plays. Kevin Stefanski? He's livid, absolutely livid. To him, this feels like his authority is being chipped away piece by piece. Imagine spending your whole career climbing the ladder, scouting, coordinating, grinding tape, only to have a sneaker company tell you who your quarterback is. That eats at a coach's pride. And Stefanski isn't hiding it anymore. His practices are harsher, his tone sharper, his body language screaming. This is MY team, not Nike's. But the harder he tries to reassert control, the more obvious it becomes that the power dynamic has shifted. Now let's talk about ownership, because this is where it gets deliciously messy. Owners love two things, winning and money. And if Nike's projections are right, $400 million tied to Shedeur's visibility, you better believe the Haslam family is listening. Sure, Stefanski's in their ear about football logic, but then Nike slides a chart across the table showing record-breaking jersey sales, global reach, and new sponsorship opportunities. That's not just noise, that's temptation. And temptation has always been Cleveland's kryptonite. So what happens next? Leaks. Anonymous sources start whispering to the press. One day it's veterans unhappy with Nike's influence. The next day it's ownership intrigued by Shedeur's marketability. Every leak adds fuel to the fire. The Browns aren't just fighting an internal battle. They're doing it under the blinding light of public scrutiny. And you know how Cleveland's history goes. Once the spotlight gets as hot, things don't just crumble, they implode. Fans? They're torn in half. Half the dog pound is screaming, "Start Shedeur! Let the kid play." The other half is muttering, "This isn't basketball. This isn't about branding. This is football. Earn your stripes." And when a fan base divides like that, it doesn't just stay in the stands. It seeps into the team. Players start hearing it in interviews, on social media, even when they're out grabbing dinner. The controversy isn't just in the locker room. It's everywhere. And the media? Oh, they're loving every second. Debate shows have a new favorite segment. Is Nike running the Browns? Memes start trending. Photoshop wizards churn out images of Nike execs wearing headsets on the sideline. Some analysts try to defend the move. Hey, the NFL is a business. Why not embrace it? Others clutch pearls. This is the end of the sport as we know it. It's chaos, and chaos sells. Now here's the part nobody's talking about yet. The league office. The NFL is watching this unfold with sweaty palms. Because if Nike pulls this off, every sponsor in America will want a seat at the table. Gatorade will want their guy playing more snaps. Pepsi will want their receivers catching more targets. It sounds absurd, but the league knows where the slippery slope ends. In total chaos. And chaos threatens the one thing the NFL values most, control. That's why whispers are already leaking from Park Avenue. Policy changes are being discussed. Guardrails being drafted. The league might soon ban sponsors from tying endorsements to playing time, or even restrict team partnerships that give the appearance of influence. Because Roger Goodell knows one thing for certain. Once fans stop believing the game is pure competition, they stop tuning in. And the NFL isn't about to let $20 billion in revenue vanish because Nike couldn't stay in its lane. But Cleveland doesn't have the luxury of waiting for league policy. They've got to deal with this now. Stefanski is already threatening to bench Sanders to prove a point. Ownership is hinting that might not fly. Nike is allegedly pressing harder. doubling down on their expectations. And Shedeur? He's just trying to lace up his cleats and get through another practice without being asked if he's a corporate puppet. And here's the kicker. The more this drags on, the more it threatens the Browns' actual season. Chemistry erodes. Trust fades. Playbooks don't get learned because meetings devolve into arguments. Instead of focusing on the Rams in Week 1, the Browns are focused on Nike's shadow. Instead of building contender, they're fighting a brand war. So, let's hand out some fake awards, because this circus deserves it. First, the corporate quarterback sneak. Award goes to Nike for allegedly trying to slide into the huddle without ever taking a snap. Second, the coach on the brink. Trophy goes to Kevin Stefanski for fighting the losing battle of football logic versus corporate cash. And finally, the caught in the crossfire medal goes to Shedeur Sanders for being the calm center of a storm he never asked for. All right, let's go deeper, because the Browns' little tug-of-war with Nike hasn't just become a story. It's turned into the story of the NFL offseason. This isn't just another quarterback controversy. It's not just Shedeur Sanders versus Dillon Gabriel, or Stefanski versus his own front office. No, this has mutated into something bigger, something existential. Who really owns the game? The people who play it, the coaches who call it, or the billion-dollar corporations pulling strings from the shadows? And like every great football drama, it's hitting its breaking point. Let's set the scene. Kevin Stefanski has had enough. Reports start leaking that he called an emergency meeting with ownership. Jimmy and Dee Haslam sitting across the table. Nike reps dialed in from Oregon. Tension so thick you could cut it with a Gatorade bottle. Stefanski doesn't mince words. He slams his notebook down and says, "If Shedeur starts because Nike says so, I walk. If you're letting corporations dictate depth charts, then you don't need a coach. You need a marketing director." Boom. Silence. Ownership is stunned. Nike is furious. And Stefanski? He's daring them to blink first. This isn't just a line in the sand. It's an ultimatum. Now, you'd think the Haslams would back their coach. But remember, we're talking about owners who've lived through decades of quarterback disasters. They've been booed by their own fans, mocked by national media, and haunted by that cursed jersey with a list of failed QBs longer than a CVS receipt. And now, Nike is flashing charts that promise salvation. Not just wins, but profits. The argument is intoxicating. Put Shedeur under center, and watch Cleveland become the center of the football universe. The Haslams shift uncomfortably. On one side, football purity. On the other, $400 million in projected revenue. That's not a decision, it's a gamble. Meanwhile, word of this showdown starts to leak, because of course it does. Players catch wind. The locker room, already tense, now feels like a powder keg. Veterans are whispering. If Nike wins this battle, what's next? Are we playing for a championship or a sneaker campaign? Younger guys are joking nervously. Hey, maybe I should get a shoe deal if I want more snaps. But behind the jokes is fear. Fear that the sport they sacrifice for is slipping away into something unrecognizable. And Shedeur? He's stuck in the eye of the storm. He's not calling Nike boardrooms. He's not demanding reps. But every headline has his name stamped in bold letters. He becomes both the symbol of hope and the symbol of corruption, depending on who you ask. That's a lot for any rookie to carry, even one as media-savvy and polished as Shedeur Sanders. Now here's where it gets spicy. Stefanski doesn't just stew in silence. He makes a move. He tweaks practice rotations, deliberately giving Dillon Gabriel extra reps with the first team. It's a message loud and clear. I decide who runs this offense, not Nike. The vets love it. They nod approvingly, feeling like their coach is standing up for football soul. But the younger guys? They're torn, because when Shedeur takes the field, the talent is undeniable. Every crisp throw, every perfectly timed read screams QB1. You can almost hear Nike executives whispering, "See? This is why he should be starting." The locker room fractures further. Some players are hashtag team coach. Others are quietly hashtag team Shedeur. And the whispers turn into arguments. One heated spat reportedly breaks out between a veteran defensive back and a rookie wide receiver after practice. The message boards light up. The fans pick sides. Cleveland isn't just divided, it's combusting. Meanwhile, the national media machine shifts into overdrive. Talk shows start framing it as a morality play. Is Stefanski the last honest coach in the NFL? Is Nike turning football into WWE? Memes flood the internet of Nike execs holding clipboards, a Stefanski photoshopped into a medieval knight holding a broken sword against a swoosh-shaped dragon. It's funny, but beneath the humor is something deadly serious. Fans are starting to question the integrity of the game. And the league office? Oh, they're sweating bullets now. Roger Goodell doesn't like chaos. He likes control. And this is spiraling. The whispers out of Park Avenue are that emergency meetings are happening. Policy drafts are being scribbled. Lawyers are preparing language that could reshape the entire sponsor-player relationship. We're talking about rules that might ban corporations from attaching roster incentives to contracts, fines for commercial interference, maybe even bans on certain marketing tie-ins. But Cleveland doesn't have the luxury of waiting for policy. Their season is about to start. Their fan base is restless. Their coach is on the edge of a meltdown. Their star rookie is caught in a hurricane. And Nike? Nike's not backing down. So what happens? The inevitable showdown. Stefanski calls the team together for a closed-door meeting. No cameras, no PR handlers, no ownership. Just the players, the coaches, and the truth. He stands in front of them, voice steady but eyes burning, and says, I don't care what the headlines say. I don't care what Nike wants. I care about this locker room. If you want this team to win, it's going to be decided by us, not by anyone outside these walls. If you want Sanders to start, he'll earn it on the field. If you want Gabriel, he'll earn it. But we're not selling our souls for a brand. Not here. Not now. The room is dead silent. Some players nod. Others avoid eye contact. Shedeur sits stone-faced, hands clasped, caught between respecting his coach and knowing the storm won't end with a pep talk. And here's the cruel twist. The very next practice, Shedeur lights it up. Perfect reads. Bullet passes. A touchdown drive in scrimmage that has rookies chest-bumping and veterans side-eyeing. It's undeniable. Stefanski knows it. The players know it. Nike knows it. The question isn't, is Shedeur QB1 material? The question is, who gets to make that call? This is no longer about a quarterback battle. It's about a cultural war inside the NFL. Because if Nike wins here, every sponsor in the league will take notes. This will become the new normal. Corporations dictating playing time, pushing stars for profits, turning football into a billboard. And if Stefanski wins, it's a rare, defiant stand for the soul of the game. So where does it all go from here? That's the $1 million. Or should I say, the $400 million question. The Browns can't dodge it forever. At some point, someone has to plant their flag. Team over brand or brand over team. Let's hand out some fake awards because this soap opera deserves them. The Don Quixote Award goes to Kevin Stefanski, tilting at the corporate windmills with everything he's got. The Shadow Commissioner Award goes to Nike for allegedly playing puppet master with Cleveland's roster. And the Atlas Award goes to Shedeur Sanders for carrying the weight of an entire league's debate on his rookie shoulders. The moral of the story? Football has always been business, but business can't erase football. Once the suits start dictating depth charts, the entire foundation cracks. And if Cleveland becomes a guinea pig, the fallout won't just hit the Browns. It'll ripple across the league.